And at one point in Earth's history, it ruled its world, not just survived, not just competed, not just occupied a position at the top of a complex food web. It dominated every ecosystem it touched with absolute, unchallenged authority. If this creature were alive today, humans wouldn't be the apex predator. We would be prey. We would be the hunted, not the hunters. Scientists believe this animal could kill you in under 3 seconds. And for millions of years, not centuries, not thousands of years, but millions, it remained completely unchallenged at the top of the food chain. This wasn't just another predator that hunted when hungry and rested when full. This creature didn't simply hunt for sustenance. It erased everything in its path, leaving behind fossil evidence of devastation that still confuses researchers today. Evidence so brutal that it challenges our understanding of predator-prey dynamics. The first time paleontologists discovered its remains, they thought they had made a mistake. The bones were too large, too massive to belong to a single organism. The teeth were too perfectly engineered for killing, with serrations and curves that seemed almost intelligently designed. The skull structure suggested intelligence that shouldn't have existed in that era. Neural capacity that contradicted everything they knew about prehistoric cognition. They assumed they had mixed fossils from different time periods, that somehow modern remains had contaminated an ancient dig site, that excavation protocols had been violated. They were wrong. What they had found was real, and it had walked the earth when the continents were still forming. Their current shapes, when the map of our planet looked nothing like it does today. It weighed more than 10 fully grown elephants combined, with some specimens reaching weights that would make modern vehicles seem insignificant in comparison. We're talking about an animal that tipped the scales at over 60 tons in some cases, a walking mountain of muscle, bone, and predatory intent. Its bite force was stronger than a hydraulic press, capable of crushing a car engine block into fragments with a single snap of its jaws. Researchers calculated that one bite delivered more pressure per square inch than any animal alive today, exceeding even the most powerful modern predators by factors of 10 or more. If it stood next to your house will lose. Not metaphorically, literally. The foundation would crack under the vibrations of its footsteps. The walls would crumble if it leaned against them. Windows would shatter from the resonance of its vocalizations. And that's not even the terrifying part. The terrifying part is how perfectly it was designed. How every aspect of its anatomy, every bone, every muscle group, every sensory organ worked together in flawless harmony to create the ultimate killing machine. This creature evolved during a time when Earth was far more violent than today. The planet was a testing ground for biological weapons, where only the most brutal adaptations allowed survival. Back then, oxygen levels were higher, sometimes reaching concentrations 30% greater than current atmospheric conditions, and that made monsters bigger. The increased oxygen meant that respiratory systems could support larger body masses, that muscles could work more efficiently, that metabolisms could run hotter without overheating. The atmosphere was thicker, creating a greenhouse effect that kept temperature elevated and stable across most latitudes, allowing organisms to grow to sizes that would be impossible in our modern world with its lower oxygen content and cooler average temperatures. The oceans were warmer, sometimes by 10 or 15 degrees Celsius compared to today, teeming with life forms that would seem alien to us now. Volcanic activity was constant, with supervolcanoes erupting every few thousand years and flooding the atmosphere with gases that would be toxic to modern life. Climate swings were extreme, shifting from tropical conditions to near freezing within spans of centuries, rather than the gradual changes we see today. Nature was experimenting with body plans that would terrify us now, trying out biological configurations that pushed the boundaries of what physics and chemistry would allow. And this creature was the result of millions of years of that experimentation, the culmination of countless generations of natural selection refining and perfecting the art of predation. But evolution gave it something far worse than size, something that made it truly unstoppable. Evolution gave it intelligence. Not the kind of intelligence we romanticize in dolphins or great apes. Not the playful problem-solving we find charming in corvids or octopi, but a cold, calculating predatory intelligence focused entirely on killing efficiently. Its brain was proportionally larger than it had any right to be for an animal of its type and era. Neural pathways, preserved in rare fossilized brain cases, showed development in area associated with spatial reasoning, pattern recognition, and long-term memory formation. It could remember hunting grounds it hadn't visited in months. It could remember prey behavior patterns and anticipate seasonal migration. It could learn from failed attacks and adjust its strategy accordingly, improving with each encounter. And scientists still don't fully understand why such intelligence evolved in a creature that already had every physical advantage imaginable. The skeletal structure tells a story of perfect engineering, of evolutionary refinement taken to its logical extreme. Its teeth were designed not to bite in the conventional sense, but to pulverize. Each tooth was the size of a human hand, with some specimens showing teeth that exceeded 30 centimeters in length. They were serrated like a steak knife, with microscopic grooves that acted like saw blades, cutting through flesh and bone with equal ease. Under microscopic analysis, these serrations show wear patterns consistent with bone contact, meaning that animal regularly bit through skeletal structures that would break the teeth of modern predators. They were rooted so deep into the jaw that the bone had evolved special sockets to handle the stress of impact. Sockets that went halfway through the jawbone itself. Breaking one tooth meant nothing, because another would simply grow back within weeks. The creature had multiple rows of replacement teeth waiting beneath the gum line, ready to rotate into position like a biological conveyor belt. Some fossil jaws show evidence of dozens of replacement teeth at various stages of development. The jaw itself operated on a hinge mechanism that allowed it to open wider than seemed physically possible, creating bite angles that no prey could escape from. Biomechanical studies suggest it could open its mouth to nearly a 90-degree angle, far beyond what modern predators achieve. It didn't kill quickly. It didn't need to. Evolution had given it the luxury of patience. It let victims bleed out, following the trail of blood, for miles through dense forests or across open plains, conserving energy while prey animals exhausted themselves trying to escape. The creature's metabolism was efficient enough that it could sustain pursuit for hours if necessary, though most chases ended within minutes. One strike could shatter bone like glass. Fossil evidence shows prey animals with catastrophic injuries, ribs crushed into powder, spines snapped in half, with the vertebrae literally pulverized, skulls caved in from single impacts with such force that the bone fragmented into dozens of pieces. Scientists found fossil marks showing prey was often still alive while being eaten. Drag marks in ancient mud, where wounded animals tried desperately to escape while being consumed. These drag marks sometimes extend for dozens of meters, telling stories of prolonged suffering that ended only when blood loss finally caused death. This detail is often left out of museum displays because it's too disturbing for general audiences, too graphic for children, too nightmare-inducing for adults who want to maintain comfortable illusions about nature. The creature's hunting territory was massive, sometimes spanning hundreds of square miles of varied terrain. Modern GPS tracking of large predators shows territories of perhaps 50 to 100 square miles at most. This creature's range was 5 to 10 times larger, requiring it to patrol constantly just to maintain territorial boundaries. It would patrol these regions with systematic precision, returning to the same locations in patterns that suggested advanced mental mapping abilities. Fossilized trackways show it moved with purpose, not wandering randomly but following specific routes that maximize prey encounters while minimizing energy expenditure. It understood its environment in ways that most predators never achieve, demonstrating spatial intelligence comparable to modern wolves or big cats, but operating at a much larger scale. These trackways also reveal something else. The stride length changes near water sources and game trails, suggesting the creature knew where prey congregated and adjusted its approach accordingly. It was capable of strategic thinking, of planning attacks in advance, rather than simply reacting to opportunities as they appeared. If this creature existed today, no ocean would be safe from its presence. No forest would provide shelter adequate to hide from its senses. No mountain range would be too steep for it to traverse. Modern weapons wouldn't stop it in the way we might hope. They'd only annoy it, only wound it enough to make it angry. Military analysts have actually run theoretical simulations, war games where they model encounters between modern military assets and prehistoric apex predators. The results are disturbing. Standard firearms would penetrate the hide, but wouldn't reach vital organs before the creature closed the distance. The speed of its attack, combined with its armor-like skin, which in some areas was thickened to the point of being nearly bulletproof by ancient standards, would make conventional defense nearly impossible. The simulations show that even high-powered rifles would require multiple hits to critical areas, And the time needed to deliver those hits would allow the creature to close a 100-meter gap in seconds. Naval ships would be toys in its presence, their hulls no match for the crushing force it could deliver. Modern ships are designed to withstand water pressure and storm impacts, not the focused, directed force of a massive predator, ramming them at speed. Submarines would be crushed like aluminum cans if caught in shallow enough water where this creature could reach them. Coastlines would be abandoned as entire populations fled inland, creating refugee crises that would dwarf anything in human history. And this is where it gets disturbing, where the reality becomes darker than we want to acknowledge. It didn't chase prey in the way we understand pursuit. It didn't run after fleeing animals in straight lines, exhausting itself in long sprints. It ambushed. Fossil evidence shows it was capable of remaining motionless for extended periods, waiting with the patience of a crocodile, but with 10 times the explosive power when it finally struck. It could sense movement from hundreds of meters away, detecting the electrical impulses from a beating heart through specialized organs that evolved specifically for this purpose. These organs were similar to what we see in modern sharks, the ampullae of Lorenzini that detect electromagnetic fields, but far more sophisticated. The creature's version of these organs could differentiate between species based on the electrical signatures of their nervous systems. It could tell the difference between healthy and injured prey by detecting irregular heartbeats. It could even sense fear through changes in electrical activity associated with stress responses. Once it locked onto you, escape was mathematically impossible. Researchers have calculated pursuit speeds based on leg bone structure and stride length. They've modeled turning radiuses based on skeletal mechanics. They've analyzed every possible evasion strategy that prey animals might have employed. Every scenario ends the same way. The predator wins, the prey dies. And it wasn't hunting alone. This realization changed everything. This might be the most frightening discovery of all, the detail that transforms this creature from a nightmare into something worse. For decades, scientists assumed this creature was a solitary hunter, too aggressive and territorial to cooperate with others of its kind. The logic seemed sound. Apex predators are usually solitary because they require so much food that sharing territory isn't viable. Modern big cats, bears, and other large predators generally hunt alone except during mating or when mothers are raising cubs. Recent fossil discoveries changed everything we thought we knew. Mass grave sites show multiple specimens died together, their bones intermingled, in ways that suggest coordinated activity rather than random death events. These weren't just groups that happened to die in the same place over time. The position of the skeletons, the way they're oriented relative to each other, suggests they died simultaneously, possibly defending a kill site, or caught together in a sudden catastrophe. Trackway evidence reveals groups moving in parallel formations, spacing themselves at intervals that would allow them to surround prey from multiple angles. They were pack hunting, using tactics that required communication and cooperation at levels we usually associate only with social mammals like wolves or orcas. What they found next shocked even experts who had spent decades studying prehistoric predators. Bite marks on prey fossils showed different individuals attacking from coordinated positions, some targeting legs to immobilize, while others went for vital areas like the neck or abdomen. This wasn't random aggression. This wasn't multiple predators happening upon the same prey animal separately. This was strategy. They were working together with the efficiency of modern wolf packs, but with 100 times the killing power. Some researchers believe they may have even used vocal communication, low-frequency sounds that could travel for miles through dense forests or across open terrain to coordinate hunts across vast distances. Analysis of inner ear structures in fossilized skulls suggests they could hear frequencies well below human range, possibly down into the infrasound spectrum. This would allow communication that prey animals couldn't detect. Strategic coordination that would be invisible and inaudible to victims until the attack was already underway. The fossil record shows these creatures lived in family groups, with evidence of adults protecting juveniles and sharing kill sites rather than competing for food. This social structure made them even more dangerous because it meant experienced hunters were teaching younger generations, passing down knowledge of prey behavior and hunting techniques. Each generation became more efficient, more deadly, refining strategies over thousands of years. Young animals would watch adults hunt, learning which prey animals were easiest to kill, which defensive behaviors could be overcome, which terrain features could be used for ambush. This cultural transmission of hunting knowledge is something we see in modern orcas and some primate species, but finding evidence of it in an extinct predator is extraordinary. It suggests that this creature's dominance wasn't just biological but cultural, that its success came partly from accumulated knowledge passed down through generations. For years, scientists thought this animal was slow. A lumbering giant relied purely on size. Ambush tactics to secure meals. The massive bone structure suggested an animal built for power rather than speed, something that could crush but not chase. The thick leg bones, the heavy vertebrae, the massive skull, everything pointed to an animal that was strong but slow. They were wrong. They were catastrophically wrong. Recent discoveries changed everything we thought we knew about its capabilities. Analysis of vertebrae structure revealed it was built for sudden bursts of speed that would be terrifying in an animal that size. The spine showed flexibility that shouldn't exist in something so massive, with interlocking vertebrae that acted like a spring mechanism, storing elastic energy during normal movement and releasing it explosively when needed. The intervertebral discs, preserved in exceptional specimens, show characteristic of high-flex cartilage capable of compression and expansion. The leg bones told an even more shocking story. They were proportionally longer than expected, with attachment points for muscles that could deliver explosive force. These attachment points, where muscles connected to bone, show stress patterns indicating enormous forces were regularly applied. The bones had thickened in response to this stress, building up extra material in precisely the area where maximum force was generated. By comparing these structures to modern animals and running biomechanical simulation on computers that can model muscle force and skeletal stress, research calculated that it could accelerate faster than a great white shark, reaching speeds that would allow it to run down nearly any prey animal of its time. We're talking about an animal that could go from standstill to 30 or 40 miles per hour in seconds, in a creature weighing 60 tons. This acceleration would be absolutely devastating. The kinetic energy of an impact at that speed would be comparable to being hit by a truck. This detail is often left out of popular documentaries because it contradicts the slow monster narrative that most people find comforting. The idea that something so large must necessarily be slow and avoidable. It was smarter than expected, with a brain-to-body ratio similar to modern dolphins, animals we consider among the most intelligent on Earth. CT scans of fossilized skulls revealed neural structures associated with problem-solving and spatial awareness. The frontal cortex, the area of the brain associated with planning and decision-making, was unusually developed. The olfactory bulbs were enormous, suggesting a sense of smell thousands of times more sensitive than a bloodhound. The creature could detect prey from miles away, could distinguish between species by scent alone, could track wounded animals across any terrain, regardless of how much time had passed since the injury occurred. The optical lobes showed development consistent with excellent vision, possible, even capable of seeing into infrared spectrums to detect body heat. Some researchers believe the eye structure suggests it could see well in both daylight and darkness, making it an effective hunter at any time. And it was deadlier than any modern equivalent, combining intelligence, speed, size, and sensory capabilities into one nearly perfect killing machine. There is simply no modern animal that comes close to matching this combination of attributes. But what really kept this creature at the top of the food chain for so long wasn't just its physical capabilities or even its intelligence. It was its adaptability, its ability to adjust to changing conditions and exploit new opportunities. The fossil record shows it survived multiple climate changes, adapted to different environments ranging from dense forests to open plains, and continued thriving while other apex predators went extinct around it. When forests gave way to grasslands during periods of climate change, it adapted its hunting style from ambush tactics to pursuit hunting. When prey animals evolve new defenses like armor plating or herd behavior, it evolved counter-strategy, learning to target weak points or separate individuals from groups. It was biologically flexible in ways that most specialists could never achieve. While other predators were locked into specific niches, specific prey types, specific hunting methods, this creature could adjust. It could change its behavior within a single generation, demonstrating a cognitive flexibility that usually takes evolutionary time to develop. Some specimens show healed injuries that would have been fatal to other animals. Broken bones that mended, sometimes slightly crooked but functional. Skull fractures that sealed with extra bone growth. Deep gouges from combat with rivals that became scars. The bone underneath thickened and strengthened. This creature could survive catastrophic damage and return to hunting. Its immune system must have been remarkably efficient, fighting off infections that would kill modern animals within days. The healing capacity alone suggests a metabolism and cellular regeneration rate far beyond what we see in contemporary species. There's evidence it could go extended periods without food, entering a metabolic state similar to hibernation, but remaining alert and capable of sudden activity. Modern crocodiles can do something similar, but not at this scale. This meant it could stake out hunting grounds for weeks, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Prey animals could never let their guard down, because the threat was always present, always watching, always calculating. The psychological impact on prey populations must have been enormous, living under constant threat from a predator that never truly slept, that could wait longer than they could remain vigilant. The creature's sensory capabilities created an environment where hiding was nearly impossible. It could smell fear through chemical changes in prey sweat, detecting stress hormones released during panic responses. It could hear heartbeats from dozens of meters away through ground vibrations picked up by sensitive feet. It could detect vibrations in the ground through pressure-sensitive organs in its feet, sensing approaching animals long before they came into view. Every sense was tuned to detection and pursuit. Prey animals evolved elaborate defense mechanisms specifically in response to this predator, and those defensive adaptations are still visible in their modern descendants, traits that persist millions of years after the predator went extinct. This is the true measure of its impact. Even now, long after its extinction, we can see its influence in the animals that survived it. Enhanced hearing in prey species, complex social behaviors designed for collective defense, migration patterns that avoid former hunting territories. The creature shaped evolution itself, left fingerprints in the genetic code of every species it encountered. Climate records from this period show the Earth was undergoing significant changes. Ice ages came and went in cycles lasting tens of thousands of years. Sea levels fluctuated wildly, sometimes by hundreds of meters as ice caps grew and shrank. Volcanic winters blocked out the sun for years at a time, coating the planet in ash and dropping temperatures globally. And through all of this, through conditions that would seem apocalyptic to us, this creature persisted. It outlasted species that seemed better adapted. It survived extinction events that wiped out entire ecosystems, events where 50 or 60% of all species disappeared. The secret was in its versatility and its willingness to consume almost anything when preferred prey became scarce. Coprolites, fossilized dung, reveal a diet that included everything from giant herbivores to smaller predators, fish, and even plant material during lean times. This dietary flexibility meant it could survive in nearly any environment. When one food source disappeared, it simply switched to another. When climate change killed off preferred prey species, it found alternatives. This adaptability is one of the key traits that allowed it to dominate for such an extended period, something modern specialists can't match. The creature's territorial behavior left marks across entire landscapes, signs that are still visible in the geological record. Scratching posts where it sharpened claws or marked territory have been found fossilized in rock formation. These marks are deep, carved into trees and stones with force that suggests casual, routine behavior rather than aggressive displays. Some of these scratches are meters above ground level, indicating the creature reared up on its hind legs to mark territory as high as possible, making its presence known to any animals passing through. The territory of a single individual might overlap with the ranges of dozens of prey species, each constantly aware that they were living in its hunting ground, that every day might be their last. Mating behavior, as far as researchers can determine from limited evidence, was brutal and competitive. Males fought each other for breeding rights, and these battles left evidence in the form of scarred bones and occasionally fatally wounded specimens found near each other. Some fossil sites show multiple males with similar injuries, suggesting these battles involved more than two competitors, possibly groups of males fighting for dominance. The victor would have been the largest, strongest, most battle-tested individual, ensuring that only the most formidable genetics passed to the next generation. This sexual selection pressure continuously refined the species, making each generation marginally more effective than the last, pushing the boundaries of what was biologically possible. Nesting sites suggest females provided extended parental care, unusual for predators of this size. Modern large predators generally provide minimal care beyond keeping young fed until they can hunt independently. The creature was different. Eggs or young were guarded aggressively, and fossil evidence shows adults died defending nest sites from threats. This investment in offspring meant fewer individuals reached reproductive age, But those that did were extremely well prepared for survival. The young learned by watching adults hunt, gradually participating in kills as they matured, first observing from a distance, then helping to drive prey toward adults, finally making kills of their own under supervision. The ecosystem impact of this apex predator was profound and far-reaching, extending well beyond the obvious direct predation. Its presence shaped the evolution of every species it encountered. Prey animals developed speed, camouflage, armor, toxins, herding behavior, and numerous other defenses specifically in response to this threat. Plants evolved to favor species that prey animals preferred, creating landscapes designed around predator-prey dynamics. Forests thinned in areas where prey animals grazed heavily, trying to maintain sightlines for detecting predators. Even other predators were affected, forced into specialist niches where they wouldn't compete directly with this dominant species, focusing on prey that was too small or too fast for the apex predator to bother with. When populations of this creature were high, herbivore numbers were suppressed, which allowed plant life to flourish. Forests grew denser, grasslands expanded, biodiversity increased as plants that would normally be overgrazed got opportunities to reproduce. When predator numbers dropped due to disease or climate stress, herbivores would explode in population, overgrazing their habitats and causing ecological collapse. Trees would die from bark stripping, grasslands would turn to dust, water sources would be fouled by too many animals congregating. The creature functioned as a keystone species, maintaining balance through predation. Its removal from ecosystems would have cascading effects that altered entire landscapes within a single generation. This creature didn't disappear because it was weak or poorly adapted. That's the part that keeps researchers awake at night. The detail that haunts everyone who studies extinction events. It didn't lose to a better predator. There was no competitor that out-hunted it, no rival that proved more efficient. It didn't starve because prey evolved defenses it couldn't overcome. Prey animals were still vulnerable, still dying in large numbers, right up until the end. The world changed faster than it could adapt. A meteor impact, the leading theory supported by geological evidence from this time period, triggered a series of catastrophic environmental changes. The impact would have sent debris into the atmosphere. Billions of tons of rock vaporized and thrown into the stratosphere, blocking sunlight and causing temperatures to plummet within months. Plants died first, unable to photosynthesize without sunlight. Herbivores starved next, their food sources disappearing within a single season. And predators, especially large ones with high metabolic demands, followed. An animal this size might need hundreds of pounds of meat per day just to maintain basic function. When prey populations collapsed, there simply wasn't enough food to sustain apex predators. Climate collapse happened over a period that might have been decades or centuries. Too fast for evolutionary adaptation but slow enough to be agonizing. Food sources vanished one by one. Competition for remaining prey intensified. The creature's size, once its greatest advantage, became a liability requiring resources that no longer existed. Some populations may have persisted longer than others, holding out in isolated refuges where conditions remained stable for a time. But eventually, every population succumbed. The last individuals died alone, the final representatives of a lineage that had dominated for millions of years. Their bones became fossils, buried in sediment, waiting to be discovered by creatures that wouldn't evolve for tens of millions of years. But here's what keeps scientists awake at night. What haunts those who study deep time and extinction events. If conditions shift again, if ocean temperatures rise beyond certain thresholds, if ecosystems collapse the way they did before, nature could bring something like it back. Evolution doesn't forget, it recycles successful body plans and strategies. The genetic toolkit that created this creature still exists in its distant descendants, dormant but not destroyed. Under the right environmental pressures over enough time, something similar could emerge. We're already seeing echoes of this in modern ecosystems. As climate change accelerates, species are evolving at visible rates, adapting to new conditions within human lifetimes rather than across geological epochs. Predators are getting larger in some regions, more aggressive in others, responding to changes in prey availability and competition. The selection pressures that created the ancient apex predator extreme competition, abundant prey, changing environments still exist. They're just operating on different species now. The fossil record shows that Earth has produced apex predators multiple times throughout its history, in different forms, in different environments. After one goes extinct, given enough time, another emerges to fill that ecological role. The niche exists. The environmental conditions that favor large, intelligent predators come and go in cycles measured in millions of years. We happen to live in a period between such cycles, but that's a temporary state, a brief moment in geological time. The scariest part isn't that this creature existed. It's that Earth has made worse. Much worse. The fossil record contains predators that make this one look tame by comparison. Creatures with even more sophisticated hunting strategies, more efficient killing methods, more perfectly adapted bodies. Some aquatic predators were larger, dominating oceans for even longer periods. Some flying predators were faster, striking from angles that ground-based prey couldn't defend against. Some pack hunters were more coordinated, operating in groups of dozens rather than handfuls. Earth has spent billions of years experimenting with different ways to kill, and it's gotten very, very good at it. And it's done it before, multiple times, in different eras, in different forms. The Permian period had its apex predators. The Triassic had others. The Jurassic refined the formula. The Cretaceous perfected it. Each time, the top predators seemed invincible, impossible to surpass. And each time, extinction created opportunity for something new. Something often more dangerous than what came before. That's the legacy of the creature that ruled its world. Not just that it existed, but that it proved such a thing is possible. The question isn't whether Earth will make another apex predator like this. The question is when, and what form it will take when it arrives.